You are watching Channel Adrian TV.
Yo YouTube, what up? Welcome back to Channel Adrian TV, and y'all know me as Adrian. But before we get into today's video, y'all know what y'all need to do. Subscribe to the channel, like and comment on the videos. Also follow me on Rumble where I post. And if you see anything you want me to react to, sports, the dynamics between men and women, or an Ask Adrian question about your own personal life, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can hit me up on one of my social media platforms. They'll be pinned in the description. Y'all, and welcome to another after workout thoughts video. And you know, sometimes in my after workout thoughts videos, I like to give you guys a little bit of motivation so you can apply to your life, or you know, life lessons. So I know a lot of people see the beef with Drake and Kendrick Lamar, and it made me think to myself, and an important lesson I had to learn, and I think every man and woman should learn, is how people view you. Once how they view you, it's very hard to change that, and rare that someone will change their opinion on you once they get an idea of what they think you are. And you may be saying, well, Adrian, what does that have to do with the Drake and Kendrick Lamar beef? Well, if you're not aware, Drake has a beef with Kendrick Lamar, Future, Young Metro, Rick Ross. In other words, a lot of rappers versus Drake. And Kendrick Lamar, and to sum it up, Kendrick Lamar, Rick Ross, and a lot of rappers said he's corny, do shady stuff, and a culture vulture. Well, if you viewed him that way, why would you work with him? And this was what I mean when people view you a certain way, you have to be able to read that. And I'll use a personal example for my own life. There was this one woman I met, this was a while ago, and I knew I was not her type. To be honest with you, I keep it a buck on this channel, her type was more street niggas. But when she saw me, I'll be honest with you, she thought I was a square, clean cut, because I didn't have no tattoos, and my demeanor, how I carried myself. So we started dating, messing around, in other words, just having sex. But one night I saw her out with another guy, but I knew that was more her type. Now, she thought I was gonna get mad. We made eye contact, I didn't say nothing, and I kept it moving. A few days after that, she hit me up and said, "Are you mad?" I said, "No, LOL, why?" And she said, "Because I know we were hanging out, but I was with another guy." And I told her no, because I knew I wasn't your type. You viewed me as more of a square. You're more in the street niggas. Because I told her, no, I knew I was not your type. I knew your type was more street niggas. And she was surprised by that. But see, if you know how some people view you, you know where to put yourself in a relationship. And that can be applied to the Drake situation. If you think these people view you as corny, square, or a culture vulture, why would you hang out with them? And I stress this to all men and women. You need to learn this. You need to learn this skill so in life, career, jobs, business, you understand how people view you. Because once you see how people view you, you know how to move accordingly so you don't be in a position like Drake where you feel blindsided. And I know this is a short video, but that's the biggest thing I think a lot of people, men and women, can learn and apply to your life. Once people view you a certain way, okay, and to finish the story, we stopped hanging out, and then a few months later after that, I saw her out at a bar, and she came up and we started talking. She said, "Hey, what's going on?" You know, just say living life, you know, small talk. And then she said, "Yeah, me and that one guy didn't work out." And I was like, "Well, what happened?" She was like, "He started acting thirsty, and how he was acting is how I thought you would act." In other words, since she thought how I looked on my outer appearance, and she thought I was a square, she thought I was going to be thirsty, because that's the stereotype. And this is why I say again, you need to understand how people view you. And a lot of times, the only time people will change their view on you is when you leave and move on, just like how I never talked to her again. So that was the only way I could gain her respect, so she could see me in a different light. Because I guarantee you, if when I would have saw her with that other guy and been all thirsty and crying like, "What's going on?" she would have probably said, "Okay, it makes perfect sense. Since I think he's a square, he's going to do some simp stuff." But I didn't. And that goes back to what I'm saying. Once people view you a certain way, a lot of times the only way they're going to change their mind or opinion on you is when you change your life, leave, or move on. And I know some of you may be saying, "Well, Adrian, I don't mind hanging out with goofies and I'm fine with that. Everyone's going to have their certain spats." And that's fine. If you want to hang out with goofies who talk about you or view you a certain way, you see what happened to Drake, and the same thing can happen to you. But if you want to be in goofy and deal with goofy behavior, at least be in shape. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you on the next video.